Hello. Okay, first let's get my appearance out of the way. Because it's part of the reason why I'm doing this video is I woke up, I have all kinds of different wigs. Normally I wear the black one, but I wore the blonde one. I didn't shave, I haven't worn makeup. I looked in the mirror and it's fascinating. I look like Thor. I'm, I'm not done looking at this. I don't want to shave just yet. So I'm going to make some videos and then I'll shave, right? And then I'll put the old wig back on. But for now, just to immortalize this one temporary look, I wanted to make some videos, but I have no spirits to talk to. There's none left. Are there any spirits outside? Yeah. There's no spirits left to talk to. So what kind of video am I supposed to make? Witchcraft 101 videos. And I'm just riffing off the top of my head. And if there's a first lesson in any of what I do, whether it's spellcraft or mediumship, talking to spirits, channeling, all that stuff, the first skill is meditation. You have to be able to meditate. Every single book I have on this subject of witchcraft, no matter what the specialization is, even if it's ceremonial magic or traditional or Wicca, meditation is always the first thing because you can't do any of the other skills without it. You can't talk to spirits without meditation. Being psychic is a skill you can cultivate. You can practice it. You can get better at it. And the way to do that is through meditation. Because it's altered states of consciousness. People throw that word around a lot, consciousness, without really thinking about what it means. Consciousness means awareness, okay? If you're unconscious, you have zero awareness of what happened. It's a blink of just gone. Zero awareness, okay? When you're dreaming, it's a different state of awareness, okay? When you're wide awake, talking to people, that's a different state of awareness, okay? So changing your states of awareness helps you develop those things like clairvoyance, clairaudience, all the other clairs. Those are my big two. Sometimes I get like an odor, but it's happened very rarely and only when the spirits are at a very intense emotional state has there been smells. Only twice, and two different of my spirit guides. Okay, think about this. Okay, how does meditation work? The very basic meditation is to just get your thoughts to stop. I think of that scene from the movie Austin Powers. There's a scene where the character Dr. Evil and his son are arguing, so Dr. Evil finally just goes zip, 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 zip. And just every time the son tries to get in, zip, zip it. And you just do that with your thoughts. Okay, so as you're sitting there thinking, oh, that's a nice picture. Zip. Oh, what am I going to have for dinner today? Zip it. You know, just every little thought. And what you notice when you do that is the thoughts start spreading out, like they're not interrupting as frequently, and you get these long breaks in between them of a different state of awareness. Suddenly you feel your body more. You hear more, you see more. It's a different state of awareness. So you practice that for a while. Suddenly you tend to pick up on subtle energies. You can sort of zone out and maybe you start to see people's auras. Maybe you don't even know that's an aura the first time you see it. Kind of like, remember in the 90s there was these books, they were picture books called Magic Eye, and it was just like a colorful picture, but if you stare at it long enough, you see something. If you stare at it long, if you zone out, if you get into a trance, you see something. Yeah, and I think it's interesting that those were called magic eyes. Like the person who made that knew what they were doing and they knew about this, okay? Meditation. So think about it. If you're trying to talk to a spirit, How do you know whether you're imagining it or not? Well, it helps if you can shut off your own thoughts so that you know it's not your own thoughts, right? So right now, I have a bunch of thoughts running through my head about, what I want to eat, what I want to watch later. Ooh, should I buy that new video game? Oh, when is that Flash movie coming out of it? If I shut all that off and it's quiet, hey, that coffee smells good. Who was that? That wasn't me. I shut off my thoughts. And that voice was not my voice, right? That's what's happening when I'm talking to spirits. And it's getting easier and easier just to do it. But usually it's like I start out on the Ouija board until I can sort of get in the right headspace, the right state of awareness. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And that's what's going on, is that eventually you can hear them and it's matching up with exactly what they're saying on the Ouija board. You start with a few questions and maybe you're not even trying to hear them. Maybe you're just a curious person playing with a Ouija board. And you're playing with it and you're like, the planchette is moving, right? I remember using planchette. It's just different now. I've gotten good at it. So the planchette is moving and it's spelling things out, but you tend to notice maybe that there's a voice and it's not your voice. And it's saying exactly what the Ouija board is saying, right? And it's a lot easier to hear that voice through meditation if you can silence all the other voices. And it just it's easier to pick up on that stuff. It's how you nurture and flex and strengthen clairaudience and clairvoyance, right? Is to use it through meditation. Okay, another altered state. Most of the spirit talking and the trance work with a silence of thoughts, that's typically alpha state. What is alpha state? I mean, if you hook someone's brain up to like an EKG or whatever it is at the hospital, the little squiggly lines, the earthquake meter when people are like dreaming and stuff, there's different vibrations, right? Alpha is meditation. The meditation I just talked about. Theta, I believe, is the next one. I usually don't refer to their names. Is another altered state where it's a deep trance and that's where the visions come. So if I'm doing crystal ball, I want to get into theta, which is just a very deeper alpha. I get there even by doing some other witchcraft stuff about drawing on celestial energies. That's another video. And theta is, I'm not thinking, my thoughts are not blah, 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 but I'm also receiving images, right? Kind of like a waking dream, a waking lucid dream almost. It's a just different state of awareness. And that's where your subconscious is coming into play. Subconscious is like the bridge between the divine and you. And I don't even like the word subconscious because it brings up a different connotation. It brings up the connotation of psychology and the very limited understanding of it. They know it exists, but they really don't know anything about it beyond that, except getting people to talk and open up and doing experiments. No, subconscious. If you read any of these witchcraft books, and from my own personal experiments and doing this, the witchcraft people are right. Okay, psychology people are very good and scientists are very good at describing it, but not explaining what it is or what it does or what it's for. Whereas people who meditate know what the subconscious is. It's the in-between, it's the radio that you're tuning to communicate with spirits and the divine. And if you're getting visions, it's typically in symbols. Right? You already know this because everybody dreams. And a lot of people don't remember their dreams. But then every now and then people have that dream, where it's like, it was so vivid and I remember it clearly and I don't know what happened, right? People have dream stories. The same way if you talk to people and get them to open up, people have ghost stories. people have dream stories. And when you do dream analysis, if you look at dream symbols, yeah, sometimes your dreams are trying to tell you something. So who's trying to tell you? The psychologist says it's you trying to tell you, but if it's you, you would already know. No, it's coming from a higher source. Maybe your holy guardian angel, maybe your higher self, which we'll talk about later. But that's how your spirit guide also is another way. I got dreams from Hecate. Happened a couple of times. Sometimes not even when I'm asleep. Which I've talked about those in other videos. So yeah, alpha state, great for talking, great for hearing, great for even, we'll get into spellcraft. Theta state, great for scrying. That's the word for it. Crystal ball gazing and other methods of scrying. Yeah, where you receive visions, theta state. And these are states that you get to just by meditation. One thing that you can do to make it easier, once you get good at getting to those states, you can install a trigger. And I like triggers because they make you feel like a sorcerer because you get to do hand gestures, right? Or like Naruto almost. Like you kind of feel like, I'm gonna do a jutsu, you know. Anyway, but to help you think of like Pavlov's dog. Okay, so if you don't know what Pavlov's dog is, Pavlov did an experiment where he would feed dogs, and every time he was about to feed them, he'd ring a bell, right? And then the dogs would learn, they hear this bell, and they start to salivate because they're like, oh, food's coming, right? So what you do is you create a trigger, a hand gesture, and you associate it with an altered state of consciousness so that anytime you do that hand gesture, you can get into that altered state of consciousness. I have 3. I have like get into alpha, a deeper alpha, which is more of like, I read in one book, it guided me through meditation to get into like, this is where you want to be to talk to spirits. So I call it the spirit vibration trance. Basically, it's a deeper state of alpha, right? And then I have a hand gesture to get into theta. If I do them right now, I will get into those states of consciousness. Because I remember I was telling people this at work one day. I was like, yeah, and then if you do that. Okay, so minor alpha, we'll call it, is crossing fingers. And you start to hear the ringing. You'll know you're doing it right if you can hear a ringing. But I'm there. Okay, and then the deeper state of alpha, or the spirit vibration trance. I don't know. I was running out of hand gestures. This was the last one I came up with. So just devil horns, right? And the last one for theta. It's hard to keep eyes open. Yeah, it's kind of like self-hypnosis, right? Hypnosis is the same thing. Okay, so if you can't meditate, if you're one of these people that are like, oh, it's too hard, I keep thinking, I keep falling asleep, you're doing it right. But if you're determined that it's too hard, then think about hypnosis. It's the same thing. Hypnosis puts you in those altered states of consciousness. Deep hypnosis is you're out and you're basically asleep, right? It's like a deeper theta. I was in kind of like a lighter theta, It can go deeper than that, where it's like, was I even awake? It's weird. It's not like I was snoring or anything, but I was definitely somewhere. I was not aware of anything. I was having a dream with my eyes open, kind of thing. And it's like, huh? What? Where am I? Right? So, yeah, meditation. It's not just for relaxing, it's how you cultivate the skills. I would not be able to talk to spirits if I hadn't spent years meditating. And I wasn't meditating in an effort to try and talk to them. I was meditating for other reasons, martial arts and things, just like being in nature, hearing the quiet, right? Hearing that ringing. Also coming at it from a point of view, before I even getting into witchcraft back in the day, I really saw parallels between that and Star Wars. Just about feeling the force, So every culture spread out throughout the world, right? Whether you look through their history or even if you just look at modern day, every culture in one form or another practices meditation. It's perfectly natural. It's might even be the natural state if you think about it. All right, that's lesson 1 of Witchcraft 101, how to meditate. Just keep practicing, right? Even if you only do it for 5-10 minutes and it's too hard because it's like, oh, I keep thinking. Well, guess what? You were just meditating, right? It's the effort, okay? If you were doing it, if you caught yourself thinking and realized this is hard, the act of catching yourself thinking was practicing a state of awareness. You were at least aware enough to know, right? Anyway, keep practicing. Meditate, 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 and then, I don't know, see if you can talk to spirits or see spirits. I think my clairaudience is probably my best, which is interesting. I would have thought voyance, but yeah, anyway.